Kevin Costner is one of those Hollywood guys everyone knows, the tough guy who protected Whitney in The Bodyguard, the dreamer who built that baseball field in Field of Dreams, and the brave director who made Dances with Wolves and changed movies forever. He grew up in dusty Linwood, California, the youngest kid of a dad who dug ditches for a living and a mom who worked as a social worker. No fancy life, no rich family, just hard work, big faith, and a crazy belief that stories really matter. He's not only an actor, he's the kind of guy who turns feelings into something you can almost touch. Behind that calm voice and strong look, though, there's a heart that's been smashed up pretty bad. 2 divorces, 7 kids with 3 different women, love that got wrecked by cheating, ugly court fights, and losses that even Oscars couldn't fix. The cheering never made the quiet nights any less lonely. The bright lights never made an empty house feel warm. And now, at 70, the pain is back, darker and heavier than ever. If Kevin Costner ever made you smile or believe in something because of one of his movies, hit the like button. It's just a small way to say thanks to a guy who's hurt quietly, carried huge burdens in front of the whole world, and still keeps shining like the last real star in Hollywood. It's super sad to think that the man who later looked so strong actually started life feeling small and lost. Kevin Michael Costner was born January 18, 1955 in Linwood, California, the littlest son of Bill Costner, a ditch digger who later fixed power lines, and Sharon, a sweet but tired social worker. They barely made ends meet. Dad came home smelling like oil and dirt, boots covered in mud, hands rough and scarred from work. Mom came home carrying everyone else's problems in her eyes, but still hummed while she cooked on a cranky old stove. Their house was tiny. Their dreams were small. But love kept them going when the cold came through the thin walls. Kevin learned young what it felt like to watch his dad fix broken things, machines, fences, even people's moods, and to see his mom act strong even when she was worn out. In that house, surviving wasn't just a word, it was every single day. But there was always a quiet sadness in the family. 2 years before Kevin was born, in 1953, his middle brother Mark Douglas lived only 1 day. That kind of loss changes a family forever, even if nobody talks about it. After that, love in their house got fiercer and more protective. Dad got stricter because he was scared of losing another kid. Mom got quieter and showed love with long looks and gentle touches instead of words. Sometimes little Kevin would see her staring at an empty corner of the kitchen, like she was seeing the baby she never got to keep. Dad would just grip the table hard, trying to hold everything together. That missing brother was like a soft shadow that never left. Maybe that's where Kevin first learned that some pain stays quiet instead of crying out loud. By the time he was 12, he'd already moved more times than most people do in their whole life. The family kept chasing jobs. Compton, Ventura, Visalia, Orange County. Always packing, always starting over. Every new school meant new kids who didn't know him and goodbyes before he ever felt at home. He said, "We were always packing. I learned to keep my real world inside me." Tearing tape on cardboard boxes was the soundtrack of his childhood. He wasn't the loud kid or the star football player. He was the quiet one in the back, writing poems when he should have been doing homework. One night, sitting in yet another moving truck, he watched streetlights flash by and whispered goodbye to a town that never really knew him. It was the kind of childhood that teaches you how to leave before you ever learn how to stay. But inside all that hurt, something strong started growing. The idea that even if nobody noticed him, he could still make something that lasted. By the end of high school, he finally shot up to 6'1", but the real growing happened on the inside. The shy kid started finding his own light, singing in church choir with a voice full of feeling, writing poems at night about open fields and second chances. His dad's strict ways became his compass. His mom's faith became his rock. He once said, "I guess I was used to starting over." He wasn't just talking about moving houses. He was talking about life. Every goodbye made him tougher. Every silence taught him to listen better. He learned life doesn't hand you comfort. It only gives you chances to try again. And from those chances, Kevin built the guts to tell stories that would touch the whole world. Not because he was born special, but because he was shaped in the quiet places where real strength starts. What do you do at 23 with a brand new wife, no money, and a dream that won't shut up? For Kevin, the price was everything. Safety, a normal job, and not letting his family down. In 1978, fresh out of college with a business degree, he did the right thing and got a steady office job. Every morning he put on a shirt and tie, smiled, and felt a little piece of himself die. The paycheck was okay, but his heart was screaming for stories, not spreadsheets. Then, on the flight home from his honeymoon, fate sat right next to him. The legendary actor Richard Burton. Kevin got brave and spilled his secret. He wanted to act but was terrified. Burton looked at him and said, "You've got green eyes, I've got green eyes, you'll be okay." When they landed, Burton's limo pulled up while Kevin and his wife waited for the bus. Burton rolled down the window and just said, "Good luck." Those 2 words changed everything. Weeks later, Kevin quit his job. His family thought he was crazy. He sold almost everything, packed 1 bag, and drove an old beat-up Datsun to LA with barely gas mo. Nay, what came next wasn't pretty. He was hungry, cold, and turned down 1,000,000 times. He cleaned boats, drove trucks, gave cheesy tours of movie star houses while dreaming of living in one. Some nights his apartment heat didn't work and he slept in all his clothes, whispering, "Just one more day." He carried headshots that got sweaty in his nervous hands, walked miles to save bus money, sat in his car outside studio gates watching happy extras laugh while he felt invisible. Then one day a friend told him about a super low-budget beach movie that needed bodies. Kevin showed up barefoot and sunburned. The director said, "We just need someone who'll work." Kevin nodded. Work was the one thing he knew how to do. When the camera finally pointed at him, he didn't feel hope yet. He felt fight. His first movie, Sizzle Beach, USA, was so bad he wished he could burn every copy. For 6 years, doors stayed closed. He even got a part in The Big Chill. And then every single scene with him got cut. He watched the premiere alone, his name gone, feeling like a ghost. But he kept going to acting class, turning every no into muscle. In 1985, the same director who cut him from The Big Chill called him for Silverado. This time, Kevin exploded onto the screen like he'd been waiting his whole life for that moment. People finally saw the man who'd survived everything quietly. Glory tastes like sweat and tears mixed together. After Silverado, everybody suddenly knew his name. The Untouchables made him the good guy America loved. Bull Durham and Field of Dreams made him a legend. At 35, he wasn't happy just acting, he wanted to direct. He put his own money into Dances with Wolves, a 3-hour Western mostly in Lakota language. Hollywood laughed and said it would ruin him. He refused to cut the long, quiet parts. "That's where the truth lives," he said. The movie cost $22 million. Sets got destroyed by storms, actors quit, and Kevin wondered if he'd lost everything. Then it came out and won 7 Oscars, made over $400 million, and turned the kid from Linwood into one of the most powerful men in movies. But even while the crowd cheered, he stood there thinking, "I still don't trust this." Same old silence inside. The next years were wild. Robin Hood, huge hit but bad accent jokes. JFK, people called him crazy for questioning stuff. The Bodyguard. He waited a whole year for Whitney Houston and turned down millions to share profits. It made over $400 million and the soundtrack sold $50 million. Then came the crashes. Waterworld cost $235 million. Storms wrecked everything, Kevin almost died on set, and critics ripped him apart. The Postman bombed even worse and won Razzie Awards for worst everything. Suddenly, the guy who had Oscars couldn't pay bills. But he didn't quit or hide. He just started over. Smaller movies, honest westerns nobody else wanted to make. "I've never been scared to begin again," he said. Because he wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing truth. When the world finally got quiet and stopped calling, Kevin didn't break. He just felt empty. Hollywood forgot him for a while and called him old news. He spent time alone in Aspen, walking in snow, asking himself why he ever needed the applause so bad. Out of that quiet came open range. Not a giant hit, but it gave him his voice back. Then, at 63, along came Yellowstone. He played John Dutton, the tough ranch dad everyone loved. The show became the biggest thing on cable, and he was earning $1.3 million an episode. But the dream that never died was Horizon, a huge Western saga he started dreaming about in 1988. He put $38 million of his own money in, mortgaged houses, worked through pain and doubt. The first part didn't make its money back, but Kevin didn't care. He kept his promise to the story. At 70, he's still out there directing and writing, proving some dreams just chew and shape. They never disappear. Love hit Kevin like sunshine the first time he saw Cindy Silva at college in 1975. She was beautiful, believed in him when nobody else did, and they got married in 1978 with basically nothing. She worked double shifts while he chased auditions that went nowhere, always telling him, "Don't quit." They had 3 kids, Annie, 1984, Lily, 1986, Joe, 1988, and for a while, life felt perfect. Then success came like a flood and slowly pulled them apart. Missed birthdays, lonely nights, rumors. In 1994, after 16 years, they divorced. It cost him around $80 million, the most expensive celebrity divorce back then. He only got to see his kids half as much, and that hurt worse than losing money. 2 years later, he had a short relationship with Bridget Rooney. They had a son, Liam, in 1996. Kevin took a DNA test, took responsibility right away, set up a trust fund, and has always been a good dad to Liam, even though the romance ended quietly. In 2004, he married Christine Baumgartner. She was 20 years younger, calm and steady. They had 3 more kids: Caden, 2007, Hayes, 2009, Grace, 2010, and built an amazing life on his Aspen ranch. It felt like the happy ending. But by 2023, the marriage cracked. Too much time apart, too many months on Yellowstone and Horizon. Christine filed for divorce. This time there was a prenup, but the fights were still ugly and public. She asked for huge child support, got $63,000 a month, had to move out of the beach house, and later was seen with one of Kevin's old friends. Kevin said quietly, "I still love her, but some things you can't unsee." Now he has 7 kids with 3 different moms, and he shows up for every birthday, every school play, every little thing, because real love doesn't stop when the papers are signed. He lost both parents close together and didn't make it home in time for either goodbye. That pain never leaves. He also lost Whitney Houston in 2012, the co-star he protected on and off screen. He spoke at her funeral with tears running down his face and said, "I will always love you." Everyone cried with him. At 70, his body is paying the price for all those years. Bad back, sore knees, kidney stones, ribs broken on horses. But he still gets up before sunrise, still rides, still directs. He says pain just reminds him he's alive and doing what he loves. He's worth over $250 million, owns a crazy beautiful ranch in Aspen and a mansion in Santa Barbara. But the real treasure is his kids. Annie making movies, Lily singing, Joe behind the camera, Liam living quietly, and the 3 little ones still filling the house with laughter. Kevin Costner's life feels like one of his own westerns, full of heartbreak, comebacks, quiet strength, and never giving up. He's not perfect, but he keeps showing up, for his stories, for his family, for the truth. And at 70, with an aching back and a heart that's been broken more times than most, he's still riding toward the horizon, because that's just who he is.